Hi creative humans, and welcome back to a new tutorial in the VJ Tools series. In this tutorial I want to show you a new, let's call it, tool that I'm finding really useful. I'm calling it something like the live audio-reactive flexibility tool. I don't know, not really catchy. If you find a better name, please let me know in the comments. I will be very glad to have a better name for it. First of all, I will quickly show what is that we are achieving. Like, this is what we will get in the end. As you can see, I gathered all the network inside one base and set a parameters that control the size. And here we can, this is the audio-reactive flexibility thing. We can control which audio-reactive parameter is the size, in this case, linked to. So let me show you really quickly. I will activate the audio out so you can listen and actually see the difference. So right now we have the size audio-reactive linked to the low in the music, but we can also sync it to the mids. And the result is a little bit different, or in this case to the highs. But we can also link it to snares, kicks, all the parts of the audio analysis tool. Maybe you develop like the perfect, super good looking patch and you are, testing in your studio and everything seems to be working great. Once you're live, sometimes you need to fix things in the go and the audio reactive parameters that you set up aren't giving the best result. Something is just off. Maybe the type of music or the style, it's a bit different from what you tested your patches on, or whatever problem you may encounter, just personal taste, and I found this really a lifesaver. So to develop this, we will use as a base this visual that we developed together in my last tutorial. This right now is just a grid of instanced rectangles. They are playing on automatic, it's not audio reactive, and they are using a lot of my random numbers extractor components that we developed also together in the VJ Tool series. This little guy, these little components that extract random numbers. And we will use this tutorial as a base because the live audio reactive flexibility tool, it's much easier to show when there is an actual patch to apply it to. And I will do two different tutorials. This first one will be with a little simpler version where you can control just one parameters for audio reactivity. And then we will do a second tutorial with the full version of it where you can control as many parameters as you want with flexible audio reactivity. So let's get started. We'll start from exactly this network and this look. I will just disable this out because it's a bit flashy right now, and we will develop the tool. So starting from our base, first of all, I wanna bring in some audio file. We can just use the standard one, and I wanna link it to the audio analysis, the one in the palette. For this example, I'm using the low, the mid, and the high activated, but you can also use the kick or snare, or if you do any operation further on the result of the audio analysis, so you have more parameters, you are good to use them. And then I'm placing it in a null so we can see it live. And also you can always tweak them with the threshold, mostly the threshold, the gain, and the smooth. Okay, and now from here, you want to have all your network gathered in a single base. If you don't have still, you can just select all of your component, and then with the right click on the map, you can see collapse selected, and everything will be automatically collapsed into a base, but I already add it. Once everything is already in a base, you can right click on the base name, like this one, and go for customize component. Here we will set the parameters that will then appear when we click our full base, and there will be custom parameters for us to work with. So let's go back here, customize component, and we want to create a new component called as the parameter. We are gonna make it audio reactive. In our case, I'm gonna call it the size because I'm playing with the size of the instance rectangles, and we are gonna use not the float type of custom parameters, but the menu. Here we are. and edit. Now we need to customize our menus, and we need to play with the menu names and menu labels. And here is where I'm gonna put the audio-reactive parameters that I'm gonna use. So in my case, I'm gonna use like low, mid, and high. If you want, you can also add a snare and kick and whatever you want. Let's stay with low, mid, high for now. And this is like the actual name that the Touchdesigner will recognize. And then there are labels that is just like the human readable name you will see. The important thing is that they correspond in order, because the first is gonna refer to the first, the second to the second, and everything. Okay, I did a bit of mess. Okay, perfect. So here you see, this is the actual name for Touchdesigner, and this is the label. In this case, they correspond, but I could also call it here something like mid values. And if I close here and I go to my customized components, to my parameters, in my custom parameters, I will see mid values, but the actual name for Touchdesigner will still be mid, because the actual menu name is that. But let's keep it simple and just go with the same names. Okay, perfect. So now I have some menu that doesn't do anything. We just know that there is a parameters called size that could be assigned to low, mid, or highs. But now, since it's a parameter of this base, we can create a new det, the parameter one, and we see something is happening here, because here we can refer to the custom parameters of this same base and have their name and the current value. Because right now, if I have here high, it's gonna register high as a value of size, or it can be mid or it can be low. To make it easier, I just want to leave out the header to make it then easier in our code to look up for values in this simple table. And also, instead of value, we want to use the eval. It's just a little difference that in this case will give you already the little, what is it called? The little upper commas, and that is gonna make our job easier later on. And also, let's keep in mind that if I add a new parameters, whatever this is, like a float, whatever custom parameters you will add, it will show here, because right now we are looking for all the parameters possible. So it's easier if you just refer the parameters you wanna have it in this table. So in our case, size. So whatever the custom parameters you had, we keep this table nice and clean. Okay, and now we need to write some few lines of Python, really few, with a chop execute. I want it to happen on value change. We will see in a minute value change of what. And to keep it super clean, we can erase everything apart from the onValueChange function. We will write really few lines here. So what do we want to make it happen here? We want to have these custom parameters that changing automatically updates our audio-reactive parameter, so our size. So normally we will just go, I don't know, with a high and place it here. And in this case, I'm also doing this reference, so it's always the same. And this way we obtain our, that's a bit harsh, it's the moment to use some smooth everywhere. Oh, okay, so much better. I'm putting them randomly, but it's already something. So this is what we will normally do to achieve audio reactivity, but instead what we want to happen is this little line that references the audio reactivity to be controllable through the custom parameter, so we can lively change it. How to achieve that? First of all, we want to access this little guy, so we want to know what we want to put in here, otherwise how can we know? So let's say this is audio par for audio parameters, and where we can find it? We can find it in the operator parameter, so this little box, And we're exactly in the, parameter 1, because we need this name, little name of the node. And we're exactly in the node. Touchdesigner already knows on its own that it's a table, so we just need to refer maybe, the cell. And the cell is called by its coordinates before the rows and after the column. So this is the row 0, column 1. Super simple. And we want to know .val. So we want to know the value of this cell of this node parameter 1. And we want to save this little guy as audio par. After that, we now just have like upper comma, mid, upper comma, or whatever it is inside this. But we need to compose all this expression. Let's say we call it audio par expression, and here you just have to trust me a little bit. We need to go for F, more upper commas, if I found it in my keyboards. Where are they? Okay. F, 2 upper commas. I need to check it out, how they are called, sorry. We will need the null one, so just the same parameter. Upper comma again, and here difficult thing to write, especially if you have a strange keyboard as me, but you need to find all the kind of parentheses. How are they called? No fucking idea. Okay, you need to do the square brackets and then the swirly bracket, how do you call it? And inside it, we want to refer our audio parameter. And then close all the brackets. So I'm just guessing here. No, let's pause it, give it a second. Okay, we did it. And also close the double commas. So what is all this thing is saying? It's just saying, please learn this little string that is gonna be operator null one, because we already know our reference is gonna reference the null one operator, with channel of the null one, whatever is called the audio parameter, and the audio parameter is gonna be whatever it is here. So this thing will just create, this line will just create a string that is gonna match this one in a dynamic way, so we can update the audio parameter name instead of having it fixed. And that's pretty much it. After that, we just want to reference our size. So for us, this is the operator rectangle 1. So we will just go directly like this. Operator rectangle 1 dot par dot size x. How do you know this is size x? Because if you click it, you can have the Python name of each of the parameter. So I want to reference the size x parameter, and I want to set the expression of it as what? As this little guy, that it's already a string that we saved. So we can just go with audio par exp. So we want to set the expression in size x parameters of rectangle 1 as this string. And that's pretty much it. It wasn't difficult, right? So now we want just to trigger it. How? Each time we change the menu, we want it to update. So I think the easiest thing to do is just set up a constant, link this size with the bind. So this will be corresponding to numbers 0, 1, 2, or longer list if you have more parameters. And then we set our chop execute to be executed whenever this chop value change. So each time this value changes, we will be updating this little size guy. You see? I've been using it and I am being really happy about it. So let's try a little bit how it's working. Let's put an audio dev out so we can understand what's happening. And let's see it. Okay. So right now our size is reacting to the highs, or we can set them to the lows or to the mids. So you can keep your audio-reactive patch more flexible, and whenever you go live, choose on the go what's the better result, depending on the music, on the mood, what's looking and feeling better. That's it for this part of the tutorial. in the second, more advanced part, because right now we can do this just with 1 parameters per time. So in the next part, we will see the full development of this. It's not really a tool, maybe it's a technique for audio-reactive flexibility, when we can set up as many of these parameters as we want to be audio-reactive, and each of it to be flexible for live changes. So, hope to see you in part 2, and in any case, stay creative. Bye!